Podcast guesting might be one of the greatest vehicles you have to increase your company's revenue. And how do I know that? Well, because Michael Fritzius, who is today's guest, has been helping coaches, entrepreneurs, and personal brands turn podcast guesting into real business growth for years now. And in the next 40 minutes, he's going to share some of the greatest advice I've ever heard about podcast guesting, including the biggest mistake most podcast guests keep making today, the 3 most important things you need to do today if you want to be a guest on a podcast, what Michael had to change in his mindset to get where he is today, and the biggest lesson he learned after surviving cancer. Let's get into it. Hey, Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
It's my pleasure, and welcome everybody to the Coffee with a Personal Brand podcast. My name is Alberto. I have my espresso here because, I'm Italian. That's part of my branding. But I also know that you do drink coffee too, Mike. Is it true?
That's right. That's right. If this was full of espresso, we'd be in danger. This is just regular coffee, so we're good. We're safe.
All right. Yeah. So it's actually going to be a coffee with a personal brand today,
That's right. That's right.
which is great. And so I just would like just to start, to set the stage and say, why don't you start by sharing a bit of your story for those who don't know you?
Yeah, sure. So I did not plan on being a business owner at all. So I graduated from college in 2006 with a computer science degree. My plan was to just be a software developer. Just put me in a closet and keep, shoving hot pockets under the door, keep feeding me soda, and I'll just keep writing code. And life has a tendency to just kind of throw curveballs your way. So 2012, I got diagnosed with cancer. That is what kicked me into high gear and realizing, oh, life is actually not as safe as what I thought it was. I've got to take the bull by the horns and I've got to do some stuff. So I've just been making radical changes from there. Started my first business in 2015, shut it down in 2021, launched Podcastify Me late 2021, and I have been just going balls to the wall ever since. So, but it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, love it. Well, I didn't know about your cancer story. That is very interesting. What would you say? I have some questions about your business journey, but I'm just really curious right now. What was the biggest lesson you would say that you learned from your cancer experience overall?
I think it's that we all have this bar of, oh my goodness, things are a problem. And most people, when they don't have a big thing like cancer happen, they don't have something that, you know, is threatening their life, their bar is kind of low. As soon as the cancer hit, it was like, oh, my bar is much higher now. So it takes a lot more. And there are things that that have happened business wise above that where I thought, oh man, this is the most stress I've ever been on in my life. It's like, nope, there's even more above that. There's no upper limit for it. But you still come out the other side just fine. It's made me a lot stronger. And if I had to go back and do it over, I still would do it. I still would totally do it. So yeah, it was a very good growth experience for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. And it is very interesting that you're saying that you would do it all over again. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Did you approach life, besides what you just mentioned, did you approach life and like the everyday life in a different way after, everything, like the whole treatment ended?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, the one thing that I realized, which was kind of like a warning shot for me, was I did not have my priorities straight. I was working a W-2 job. I was a full-time employee. I was working like 60 plus hours a week. I was putting my career first because I was scared to death that if I took my foot off the gas, I would be out of work. And I had 2 kids at the time. We got 4 daughters now, my wife Charlotte and I. We have 4 girls, ages 9, 11, 14, and 15. There's a lot of estrogen in this house, bro. That's why I drink so much coffee. I got to keep up with them. But but that's what I realized was, okay, I need to change fundamentally what I'm doing, how I'm living life, how I'm doing things, because I can't put work first and then family and then God and then health. And it's like, no, I gotta rearrange some stuff. So that was what I needed. Sometimes the 2x4 upside the head is what it takes to for us to realize that. It's like, no, really, pay attention. Wham. So yeah, made some changes, a lot of life
Yeah,
changes.
yeah, yeah, like a wake up call that's
Yeah.
like in a certain moment you definitely need. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Now moving on to the like your business journey and what you do today. So today you run a company, like you already mentioned it, Podcastify, where you help entrepreneurs basically turn podcast guesting into real business growth. And your job is to make it easy for experts to get booked on the right shows and turn those appearances into revenue. Now, how did that idea come to life? Also, in the context of your journey from coding to cancer, etc.
Yeah. So I've got a pattern of just running hard in one direction. I did this in college. I would have classes where I get partway through the class and I'm like, man, this class sucks, but I at least need a C to pass this class. So I'll do what it takes to get a C, but I'll go over here and do all kinds of fun stuff and figure out like build my own things, right? And when I got into the working world, it was the same thing. I would just go on these adventures and get the work done, but what are all the side quests and things that I can do? And the result is that it led me to start doing that as well when I got into business. You know, with my past business, I was like, what can I do to like tease out the boundaries and then go past them, like way past what normal people would say, oh, he's this kind of guy. But it's like, but he's doing this over here. Like, what the heck? So in the podcasting world, how it's worked for me is the figuring out what all the different aspects are about what it takes to be a successful podcast guest. And I've never been one to settle. I've never been one to try to do anything in moderation. Again, 4 daughters, right? And what I found was it's a lot more than just showing up and being visible. You can get on a show and yay, awesome. Okay, I was on a podcast, yippee skippy, right? But if it doesn't generate any business for you, why are you doing that? And then I started asking people, I said, how many of you have ever been on a podcast? You've been a guest on a podcast, any room, any size. Most hands go up. And I'm like, great. Keep your hand raised if that's actually resulted in business for you. And every hand goes down. Well, I will say one hand stayed up, but the lady was like, I kind of did, like, but I'm not sure how it happened. It was accidental, like, oops, surprise business. But that's just the way that I live life, the way that I'm like, what else can I find out? There's all kinds of cool things. It's a very exploratory attitude and just constantly doing that, and bringing it into the podcasting world that's resulted in some pretty cool breakthroughs in the space. So,
Yeah, very, very interesting. And when you, so you also know that the world of like content and on YouTube and audio platforms, like everyone has a podcast. How if you open the app, how many times do you like hear or see a mistake? Like in terms of how people present themselves, like are guests knowledgeable in how you need to be a guest or not? Like how many times do you see like mistake? Do you see,
yeah.
oh yeah, that needs to be fixed, or yeah, that one needs to be fixed too?
I mean, me personally, I see a lot of goofs, but they're not like, oh my goodness, I can't believe what. It's not terrible. It's not world
Mm,
ending. But I also know that because of my past career, so the business I started back in 2015, that was a software testing business. So for a while, it's like, okay, I'm paid to find problems, so it kind of it's still in here, right? So the things that I see that are just some minor mistakes and things like that. Like the vast majority of people, if they're going to nitpick, if they're going to be like, I can't believe they said that, it's like, okay, well, then you're not really the right audience. And anytime I find myself feeling that way about, well, why did that happen? Why did they say there was a mistake there? It's like, okay, but what is the message that they're trying to put out? Because I could sit there and nitpick and all kinds of stuff, but at the end of the day, they are out there getting their message to the world. They are stepping up. They're doing the brave, scary, spooky thing, and they're getting out there, getting behind the mic. The vast majority of people that don't have the guts to do that, they're just going to sit on the sidelines. So it's okay. And actually, I think a podcast that's too polished, if it's too like scripted, too rigid, it's like there's got to be some goofs in there. There's like a Persian flaw. it's almost inhuman. If you come across as inhuman, you come across as just not real. And people tie into that real quick. They're just like, this is weird, and then you lose listenership that way too. So it's okay to make some mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah, makes total sense. Yeah, yeah, and I love what you're saying, and yeah, there are just so many podcasts with all kinds of guests, and what really resonates with me is like the. I guess you're talking about like the alignment with your market. Like if you're like you need your message needs to be aligned with like the podcast and the podcast's audience so that you're giving the right message to the right people, right? And so
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's one of the most important things when it comes to podcast appearances, right?
I mean, it's fairly important, but this is
Mm,
where I see a lot of people don't take this next step is yes, there's an audience. The podcast host has their own audience, but I, as the guest, I have my own audience too. So everybody that's, following me or friended me on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, anywhere online, right? Email list, that's my audience. And so I can also take that episode and direct my audience to say, hey, if you like me, you can go find out what else I said about particular topic, and then they're like, oh yeah, cool. So it's a full alignment. Like, yeah, the relationship between the guest and the host is there, and the guest and the host's audience, but don't forget about the people that are like already in your court. They're already saying, I want to be closer to you. I want to be in your audience. Give them that content too.
yeah, makes total sense. All right, now the people who know the Coffee with a Personal Brand podcast already know that we don't just do the usual Q&A format. We like to put in some games, and the first game I would like to do with you is called Love and Hate. So since your offer and your company is about podcasts, and we're in a podcast together today, I thought let's do a little game about podcasts together. So, my question for you is tell me one thing that you love, the thing that you love the most about podcasting and the thing that you hate the most about it. All right.
I love when people have a really good offer because when they have that figured out, the energy that they give off is amazing on a podcast. I love talking with people that know what they're about. They know what they sell, they know why it works. They can answer any question. It just gives off a vibe about them. In fact, that's one of the things I do with clients is, hey, let's figure out your offer and make it so great that you can't help but get on shows. It's just you can't get out of your own way fast enough. What I dislike is lack of clarity. I super hate lack of clarity. I used to not be a process guy, but now that I am, I can't live without it. It is super frustrating when I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do you do this particular operation step by step? Walk me through it. And if there's not a clear process, it's like, we're going to make one like yesterday. So, yeah, that's what I love. That's what I hate.
Okay. And that's especially, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's mostly on the client side. Like when you are working with a client on how they present themselves in a podcast, that's what you like and hate. Uh, and
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, and that's great, and I love it. How about when like the actual like the activity of podcasting, like what like when you listen like what we're doing today. Like, is there something like maybe you're not, maybe you hate tech, but I don't think so because you're a tech guy. But well, that I think everyone has its own the things that they hate and they like about like getting into a podcast as a guest or as a host. I don't know, like anything.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Got it. Got it. So, let's see, what I love about podcasting, I still love when people can share really good stories about themselves where you get those tingles on your arm, right? Your hairs stand up and it's like, oh my goodness, it's like they're reading my mind. I love that because there's this aspect of as a human, you sometimes feel like it's just, nobody else has it figured out. I'm the only one going through this. And it's like, no, at least that other guy knows what I'm going through. There might be dozens of us, hundreds even. I love that because you can connect with people at a real deep, visceral level through a podcast. Um, what I don't like is goodness, that is a hard question to answer because it's difficult for me to think of anything outside of the client relationship that I don't like about podcasting. I love the medium, and I never realized how deep of a an excitement I would have about it. I'm trying, dude. I'm trying. I am
No
trying to
problem.
come up with something bad here, but I can't think of anything. I
I,
can't
I
think
I
of
like that
anything.
answer.
Bad lighting. Bad lighting. I don't know.
No, no, I like it. I like it. Yeah. And it also looks like that when it comes to podcasting, if you don't see like the bad sides, it means that also coming up with ideas, coming up with guests ideas or stuff like that, it's not a problem with you. You like
Right.
helping clients with creating content through the podcast and using that as a vehicle for marketing, etc. I love it, and I really love what you said about how visceral a podcast episode can be, because it's a lot like a long form type of content, and you don't have to read, like on the viewer side you don't have to read, so it's just you can tell your story, you can show who you are, show your message, etc. And I do agree that it's just a great vehicle, and yeah, and this really resonates with me, so yeah, thanks for sharing. So I would say, Michael, you passed the first game. Congrats. All right, awesome. Now, still in the podcast realm, let's get into some practical advice. So, as we mentioned, you help entrepreneurs make money from podcast appearances. That's we already said that. But why don't you give us three tips that most people don't talk about when it comes to finding the right podcast, being a great guest, and creating opportunities in that in that episode? Three tips that most people don't talk about in your opinion.
Yeah, sure thing. So, first tip would be always have a clear next step. This is something that was drilled into me by a sales coach that I worked with years ago back in 2018. And he would always clear next step, clear next step. And it took a while for me to understand what that meant. So, whenever you guest on a show, you've got access to that host audience, obviously. But like I mentioned before, you've got access to your own audience. As soon as you have somebody hear your episode, what is the next thing you want them to do? And I bet you it's not to just listen to the episode and say, cool story, bro, and keep scrolling. You want them to take some kind of an action, some kind of yeah, I want to comment this in order to get access to this freebie, or I want to join this community, which I'll talk about here in one of the other three tips. But as long as you keep in mind I'm always going to have a clear next step. I don't want to just go get on a show and then leave and not have anything to show for it. That's what most people do when they get out there in the podcasting world. And then they're doing the hand raise thing. I've been on 718 shows. I haven't made $1. That's sad. That's like hours of your life wasted. Don't do that. Tip number two is to make it have some kind of an easy way for you to continue nurturing people. Not everybody that listens to the show is going to resonate, and not everybody who resonates is going to take action and want to come closer to you. But when they do, make it as easy as possible for them to get into an environment where you can have some two-way communication. Okay. Not a mailing list. Mailing lists are great, but they're more of a one-way communication. I'm a big fan of doing like weekly calls on Zoom with my community, and I'm enabling them to bring other people into the community as well. Make that bar super low. Okay. Make it obvious what it is that they're going to get out of it, because the more that you can nurture those people and they can feed back to you and you can give to them and they can give back to you, you're going to be pulling clients out of there. You're going to have a lot more success if you can just keep touching people week after week, day after day, month after month. And then the third thing is really, and I mentioned this before, but get super clear on your offer. If you're a business owner and people say, well, what do you sell? And you're like, well, I do a little bit of that. It's like, this isn't like a menu at a restaurant. Okay. Have one thing that you can pour yourself into, that you can constantly modify as needed, but make sure that you know this is what I'm doing. This resonates with me, who I am. I'm tapping into my gifts and my skills, talents, and abilities. I know that this solves a problem for people, not the symptom of the problem, but the actual honest to God problem. And it is clear. If somebody were to sit me down and keep feeding me espresso and pastries, it's like I should be able to explain this end to end exactly how this works because they're not going to be paying me for my time. They're paying me for their time. They could go on Google and learn how to do all this stuff, but they value their time. If it's obvious I know how to do it, why not just pay me to do it, right? So those three things, making sure you have a clear next step, making sure you have a good nurturing container, and then making sure you've got a really good offer, you're going to be successful in the podcasting world.
Yeah, love it, love it, and I totally agree on everything. Like when it comes to the tip number one, it's the same principle of always book the next call because when you're inside the first call, right? Because you have
Yep.
the next touch point, or the next step of the nurturing process. And the third one, I can't stress enough how the offer is important. I've been working as a copywriter and marketer myself for the last 6 years almost, and like the offer is always the most important piece because like a weak offer will always fail even with the best copy or with the best the best rap. You can be the best guest inside a podcast but without or like in a webinar, or you have a sales page, it's all good, but without the offer is the single piece that really needs to be dialed in. So I totally agree with you, and I can totally see why you put it in your like top three tips because again, it's so important. So yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty important to the plot, man.
It is, it is. And now let's say, like to kind of segue, let's say a personal brand comes to you and says that they've been appearing on different podcasts, but they haven't got any results yet, which is an example that you have already given in the last few minutes. What is the first thing that you would look at when they say, "Oh, again, I've been in 18 podcast episodes, but $0."
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would look at is their offer, and I see that as what's foundational. Like I know it keeps coming, well, I'm not getting results. There's a lack of clarity somewhere, right? There's lack of clarity in the offer. There's lack of clarity at the pipeline level. Like, what's the next step? What do you like? Do you have a CRM? Do you have funnels? Do you have lead magnets? Like, what's your process look like? And I mean, it's kind of a holdover from my tech days, right? If you've got a piece of equipment and it's like, oh, the thing ain't thinging, it's not working. Well, the first thing you check is it plugged in? It's kind of a cliche thing, but it's like, if it's not plugged in, bro, it's not going to work, right? So let's start here at the offer. Hopefully that's crystal clear. But for the vast majority of business owners, it's not as clear as it really could be, and they can feel it in their bones that there's something kind of wonk. It's like, all right, let's talk about that, but then let's like comb the knots out as we keep going, right? Document out the entire process, and then it's like, oh, there's a piece in here that as a guest, I didn't even realize I was supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to follow up with the host. Well, shoot, this whole time I've been waiting just for the host to get back with me and then let me know when it airs. And half the time I don't even hear back. Like I don't even know where the podcast is at. So it's like, yeah, take next steps, right? Follow up with them. Have a distinct action for every step in the process and follow through with it. Keep track of it.
Got it.
That would literally that offer, man, that would be the first thing I start with.
Got it. Yeah, so it's not, you wouldn't even watch how they present themselves in the actual podcast episode. That you wouldn't even watch a minute of how they showed up, but actually how they followed up and how they built their offer, if I'm
Right.
not mistaken.
That's exactly right. Because if somebody said I've been on 18 podcasts, I don't think that it's something about how they're presenting. I don't think it's something about like the common thread isn't the presentation. It's something else before then. It's something before then and it's something after that because podcasting as a medium is really forgiving. I mean, people can get on. I mean, they can monotone, and it's some people are like, I don't really. This dude's kind of boring, and some people are like, man, this dude's spitting fire, right? So if there's a variety of shows that you've been on, and you've been on 18, 20, 30, 50 shows, and you're not having anything to show for it, it's like, all right, there's something else in the mix. It's something in the process. It's not the actual event. It's something before and after that. Let's figure it out.
I love how you framed it. It's not the podcast itself, like it's before and after. It makes
Yep.
so much sense. Makes so much sense. Now let's go into the second game. We are gonna have three games in total. Now the second game is called Coffee Date. You
All
can
right.
have three coffee dates. You're also a coffee drinker, so it's really in theme with our theme. You can have three coffee dates with whoever you want. One needs to be alive, so from the present. One needs to be from the past, and one needs to be a fictional character. Right. So three coffee dates.
Oh man. Okay. First coffee date would be, I'll say Jesus. And that's under the dead, not the fictional, right?
Yep.
So I'm a Christian, I'm a man of faith. Every single day, I live out my life according to how would Jesus do this? What am I doing to most glorify God? How am I supposed to be running my business? Man, I'm pretty sure if I can get an hour with the Lord, He would give me some good consultative advice. I'll even buy the coffee. I ain't gonna lie. The next person that I would pick would probably be Alex Hormozy. And I don't know, like, if I'm ever going to get the chance to meet the guy, but he's really had some incredible insights about how I can do my business. Like, I've learned a lot of things from him, but I also feel like I'm in a position where there's got to be some value that I can bring to him as well. And I would just like to see, where are you struggling? Because no business owner has it figured out. Nobody does. And to just kind of chill, be together, and spend the time. Third person fictional, that's really that's a tough one. That's a tough one. No fictional people come to mind, honestly,
Hmm.
that I would want, so let me look around here real quick. I got some books.
Are you a big fictional books reader, or are you not?
I
Huh.
used to be, but I mean, more recently, the books that I've read, like I read 1984 pretty
Mm-hmm.
recently. I've read Fahrenheit 451. These books are getting in vogue now, again, because things are just kind of like rah rah here in the US.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's like I read the kind of books that I read are more like financial wellness and
Mm.
business health and
Maybe from
mindset and
movies. You can pick
movies.
someone from movies or TV series, right?
Oh, okay. All right, that's helpful. That's helpful. Oh boy.
That's a hard one.
I would s- it is a hard one. I mean, I would say Neo from the Matrix. How
Hmm.
about that? And
Nice.
I'd be like, dude, how accurate? Like, how close are we? Like, and he'd be
Cool
like,
one.
wow, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Very, very, very cool one. And by the way, I have Hormozy right here, two books, and the hat
Oh, you do?
right here. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got his third book out now. He's got a third book, and I
Yep.
can't remember what it's called. Hundred
Money
million dollar
models.
somethings. Money
Uh,
models. That's what it
Money
is.
models.
It's
Yeah.
green.
Yep, it is. It's missing because I have ordered it, but it's still missing. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I probably would. I think that you need to pay 10K to go have 1 hour with him. So I think a coffee date makes total sense.
That's an expensive coffee. They better be putting some
Yeah.
gold foil and crunched up some diamonds in there. It's like, yeah, it's good stuff.
Exactly, exactly. Now, getting back to your business journey, I think you mentioned that you started your business. You were in the consulting, tech consulting space, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so if you think about the Michael of those times, what would you say was the biggest change you made in your journey? Yeah, between how it started and how it is now, like the biggest change you had to make, maybe internal in terms of mindset, or like yeah, mindset shift, a belief system shift, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh man. The Michael back then was soft, but the Michael
Mhm.
back then didn't know any better. I would let things get to me and just drag me down. But that was back before I realized that, oh, I can control my thoughts. Wow, what a realization. Like, I didn't realize that. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. They're kind of imprisoned by their thoughts. It's like, well, today's the day to be sad. I guess we'll just hang on until this goes away. It's like, no, there's a reason why we feel that way. And emotions are there for a purpose, they're there for a reason. They're signals that there is some kind of action that we need to take. So, the change that's happened definitely is internal. And I talk with a lot of business owners that used to be in business and they're not anymore. They've stopped, they've decided to get a job. And I used to be like, oh man, we lost another one and he was so young and beautiful. But what I realize now is I really, really love the internal work. I have realized that the results that I'm going to get in business, the amount of revenue that I bring in directly is related to the kind of man that I am and who I'm becoming. I'm trending upward. I don't spend near as much time with shower arguments. Do you have those? Do you get, and you're just like, rah, rah, if they would have said this, I should have said this. And it's like, what a big fat waste of energy. Like, what if I take that energy, harness it, and use it to go build a funnel or make 25 sales calls or organize an event? Like, I can just take that and use it for something else. I didn't used to think that way. So, yeah, new Michael, new Fritz is battle hardened, getting stronger all the time. Not in a jerk way. Like, I'm not a dingus to people, but I'm expecting more of myself than I ever did before. I'm expecting myself to keep getting stronger every single day. I want to keep becoming the best version of myself I can be. Old Fritz, old Michael would be like, how do we get clients? So I'm not as concerned about that. It's like, how do I get better at being me? The clients will come. I'll attract them.
That's so inspiring, to be honest. And I love what you said. And I hope that it lands with people that are listening because really, that's so inspiring. That's so inspiring. And how many years did it take to really understand this? Again, between the tech consulting times and today.
All of them, bro. And I'm not done. Like, I'm not done. But I remember a time when I had a client years ago and it was very, very stressful. It was extremely stressful. I had just come to the end of myself. I just had no self-worth. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I even doing here? Right. And I think that was back in like, I want to say late 2018, early 2019. So it really hasn't been that long between then and now. I think back to that time almost fondly because that took me to the end of myself, but that was when I needed to get the most strength. It's like working out at the gym, right? The last rep is always the hardest, and then you find you can do one more, and then maybe one more. So, yeah, 5, 6, 7 years max. But I also tend to think of myself as a bit of a slow learner because I overthink things. Going back to what I was saying before about what about this? What about this? Like, let's just explore all the different aspects of this thing. And it took me what I feel is a little bit longer to pick that up. So if I hadn't gotten so dang distracted, maybe it would have taken me 2 years. But no, it took 6.
And
I
it's
got here as
okay.
fast as I could, man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's totally okay. The important part is that you got here and you did that transformation.
Yep.
And just out of curiosity, you briefly mentioned that you're into, personal development books and mindset and personal finance. How much have the books helped you in your journey, if at all?
Yeah, they've helped a lot because there are times when you read a book and maybe you've had this happen. You've picked up a book and you're like, man, this is great. You can't read it fast enough. It's almost like you just want to eat it because it's like, how can I get this into me faster? And when I come across books like that, it's just in time. And it's not confirmation bias like, well, that's exactly what I was thinking, but it's it meets you where you are and it tells you what is the next step and the step after that. It's just enough clarity to say, here is the direction that you can go powerfully, just jump, you're going to be fine. Let's make this happen. It's helped me a ton. I've found over the years that the biggest thing, and I work with a lot of coaches, the biggest thing that any coach, the biggest thing that any book that you read that is designed as a self-help book in some category, and I'm referring to that as, business, financial wellness, mindset, these are all like self-help books. The only thing that they can do is give you permission. You've already got the ability to do the thing. You just don't realize it yet. Or you've already got the skills. You've already got the resources. You've already got everything you need, man. All you got to do is give yourself permission. And if you can't, somebody else has to give you permission. Somebody else has to say, hey, here's where you are. Here's where you could go if you just do this. Awesome. And then take that action and do it. It's helped tremendously because I'll analyze the heck out of things and be like, well, what if I do this and it's not the right thing? It's like, now, even if it's not the right thing, it's not going to kill you. Did you die? No. Did you learn something? Absolutely. And is that going to be helpful later on? Yes. God does not waste any lessons. Everything he brings you through, it is absolutely for your benefit. Doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's cancer, there is a good that is for you that comes out of it. So, yeah, I mean, that goes back to what I was saying before about living life with reckless abandon, because now when I've had all these little bits of like lessons and snippets and things like building into me, and it's like, man, sometimes I feel like I'm running with scissors when it comes to business. It's like, why are you taking so much risk? I'm like, well, because it worked out fine last time. And I find myself not being scared about much of anything these days. So yeah, books help.
Books help, and it's if you think about it, it's like the best ROI that you'll ever get because you spend like 20, $30, and
Yep.
sometimes they really change your life. Sometimes not even like in the short term, but then you pick it up like 5 years later, you reread it, and it lands in a different way because you have much more context and more experience, and you learn like more stuff. And
Yeah.
I totally agree on what you said about like the times that you just want to absorb it like faster because you want to like finish it. I have that same feeling, but with an expansion, which is I like have like an intuition that it will be beneficial. But I know that I will have to read it like a second time to really understand it and really make it, have an effect on me. And so I just want to finish the first read so that I can reread it from the from the beginning. So yeah, I
Yeah.
have that same feeling too, and I'm a big book lover. Now to wrap things up, let's go into the very last game, which is called flash branding. This last
Okay.
game is basically I'm going to go to give you some fill in the blank sentences, and you have to answer as fast as possible with the first thing and most natural answer that you have. You up for it?
I think so. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's start with the first sentence. My favorite podcast is
Two bears, one cave.
the best advice I ever received was.
Don't start a business.
Okay, interesting. When I'm sad, the first thing I want to do is.
Eat.
Nice. The most important moment of my life was when
I got married.
the biggest risk I ever took was.
Starting a business.
That makes sense.
So I ignored that guy's advice, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, that makes total sense. And lastly, one last sentence. Success to me looks like.
Freedom.
Makes total sense. Michael, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me today. Where can people find you or contact you in case they want to know more about your offer and how you can help them?
Yeah. Head over to the website at podcastify.me. That's the best way to start. So if you want to grab some time to chat, we can do an intro call and go from there.
Awesome. And is there any big project that you're working on at the moment that you'd like people to know about, or like just stuff that you want the listeners to know about?
Oh, yeah. So on February 27th here in St. Louis, Missouri, I'm hosting a summit. It's all about how to be successful as a podcast guest. And it's not just show up and hope for the best, right? Like it's all that stuff, the process before, during, and after, the clear next step, basically everything we talked about, but we're going to be spending a whole day digging into some details. So it's happening February 27th. That's a Friday. So if you want to come in from out of town, there's some hotels around. We'd love to put you up and take care of you for the day.
Awesome. That's awesome. A little PS. So your best advice you ever received was not starting a business, but you
Right.
started a business and you
I
ignored
did.
that.
I did. Yeah, it was back when I was a contractor. It was before I started the business. And I had told my boss at the time, I said, "Man, Srinivas," I said, "I think I'm kind of wanting to start a business." And he's like, "Oh, do not do that. It is a pain in the butt." And he had all these reasons why, because he had tried and he didn't like it. And a couple years later, I said, "I know he meant well, but I'm going to ignore that advice." So I did, and I haven't looked back. I still say that was the best advice I ever got because don't tell me what to do and just go ahead and do the opposite. Yes, wonderful.
Love it. Love it. Thank you again for taking the time. Thanks everyone for listening and see you next time.
Thank you.